Welcome back to home training. This is our third installment of the Sunday shift. This week we're focusing a bit on the balance between the hip flexors and the hamstrings, overall flexibility within the hip, and all the muscular attachments to the pelvis. Last week we went over some of the ergonomics of sitting at a desk and forearms, wrists, shoulders, and the tightness which can ensue. Certainly the same can be true for the lower body as well. So little movements throughout the day can be helpful. I hope you'll find that even though this is probably an hour, 70-minute long class, that you can take little snippets, little nuggets of it, and utilize these stretches throughout your day. When we're talking about the muscular attachments to the pelvis, what tends to happen is hip flexors can be very tight, and the way they pull on the pelvis can create what we consider maybe an exaggerated lordotic curve, so a little bit more extension through that low back. Once we can lengthen the hip flexors, which are typically tight on myself too, we can find a more balanced, neutral posture in the pelvis, which is really healthier for movement. The other example that often happens is tight hamstrings will cause you to move into a very deep posterior tilt. So again, just this muscular imbalance that doesn't allow the pelvis to respond as it needs to running or walking or various movement patterns. If you don't have a mobile pelvis and also one that can stabilize, then it's not unusual to have associated back pain or SI joint problems, or just lack the physical reactions that are necessary to catch yourself before you fall and such. So finding balance between the hip flexors and the hamstrings, for myself personally, is a lot of work. The poses we'll do today are beginner, basic level. However, I recorded this earlier today and I was sweating. It's a lot of work for me to maintain neutral pelvis, extend the hamstrings, lengthen the front of the hip flexors, maintain that core engagement. So if I say this is a basic or a beginner class, a lot of it really depends on your body type. So as always, do what feels best for your body. Don't feel like you have to do this whole 1 hour class at once. I might at the end of this particular hour add in some various quadriceps stretches that you might find useful or valuable. They don't necessarily fit fluidly into our class, but they're still useful overall tools for your toolbox. So let's get started on our back. Feet flat, knees bent. And this is a great posture to then tune into the pelvis position. When I first rest down, I can tell that I'm being drawn into a little bit more of an anterior pelvic tilt, just based on whatever inherent tightness or imbalance I might have in my hip flexors. The reverse position of this would be then to draw yourself into a posterior tilt. That kicks in your hamstrings. And this isn't to judge good, bad, indifferent. It's just to acknowledge, oh yeah, this is the way my body tends to be at rest. And is that resting position, am I potentially becoming stuck in that position where it's hard to find the counter movement or the counter posture to it? So working into your anterior pelvic tilt, little arch, and then moving into the flattening little cat shape. This is basically cat-cow on our back. Can just bring some balance to the body, to the position of the pelvis. And these little movements are useful for reducing back pain, for improving mobility. As I inhale, I'm finding that pelvic arch, tailbone reaching down towards the ground. As I exhale, tailbone curls to the ceiling, little pelvic tuck. Inhale into the arch, and exhale into the tuck. You could add your arms to this. Inhale, arms carry overhead, creating full extension. Exhale, hands move down, tailbone curls. Let's do it 2 more times. Inhale into your extension. Exhale into your flexion. So this would be a good first thing upon rising movement. First thing in the morning.
Inhale, extend. And exhale, curl. And then return to neutral. And you might find that your neutral now is a little different than when you first lay down on your back. Bring your right knee tabletop, take your hands behind your right thigh and just press the thigh into the hands and release. With this added energy, are you able to keep neutral pelvis? Are you tucking or overarching, or can you stay pretty stable there with the tops of the ASIS points, these hip points directly to the ceiling? Press out and add a little straightening of the knee. Let's bend and straighten there a couple times. Just saying hello to the hamstrings. And then pause there, flex and point your foot a few times. So getting a little bit more reaching by reaching our heel to the sky. Can you still think of anchoring the sitting bones gently down? So again, you're not tucking your pelvis as you extend your leg. Great. Bring that leg back home. We'll do the opposite side, hands behind that left thigh. Press and release a few times here. I like to feel like I'm lengthening the whole side of the body, even as I'm maintaining core connection, abdominals pulling in and up. Add that leg extension and bend a few times. Sitting bone reaching to the earth, heel reaching to the sky. And pause with that leg lifted straight. Point and flex the foot a few times. Press the thigh into the hand. And then return that foot back down to the mat. All right, we're going to move the sideline. So a pillow, towel, blanket might be helpful here for the alignment of the head and neck. We'll start with the knees tabletop, arms extended, top leg, reach it out in front. Okay. And then lift that leg, so you're using your glute muscle here, a good glute medius exercise here. Pass that straight leg back in line with your body. Can you do this without overarching the back? So I have to continuously lift up through the core, bend the knee, quad stretch, right? This is kind of our first quad stretch of the day. Extend the leg back out and sweep it back in front. Breathing as you pass that leg through, draw the heel to your backside. Extend it out. Return it back. Let's do that one more time. Here's your hamstring, right? You feel the hamstrings as you kick forward. Hip flexors get a nice stretch as you draw the heel to your backside. And then return, bringing that leg back home, place it out in front again, let the heel rest down, taking a nice twist here of the upper body, head, shoulder, fingertips, move away, keep reaching through that heel, and return yourself back home. Great. Sit yourself up. We'll visit that on the opposite side. So this is one of those small movement patterns that I think could be really beneficial just to add at different points during your day to bring balance to the hip flexors and hamstrings. Pretty simple in its setup. Find a position that's comfortable for your head and neck. Extend the top leg. Now with that leg extended, because I have tight hamstrings, it's very easy for me to start tucking and curling the low back. I want to reach my sitting bones away and lift that leg up and then take it through its range of motion to in line with the spine, bending the heel, knee, heel draws in towards your tush, and then extend it out and return it back to start. Continue that a few times. So this is kind of reminiscent of our large bicycles. Those of you that do Pilates with me, that bicycle movement, again, very generous to hip range of motion, but deep work of pelvis stability. So we're not rocking to and fro. Leg reaches back, heel draws in, extend, and return. And then let's rest this leg down, reach through the heel, reach through the sitting bone, and then introduce your twist. Again, nothing should cause pain, discomfort. Do what feels best for your body. And then return from that twist and bend the knee. Bring yourself up, and we'll move to a hands and knees, 4-point position. So spread those fingers out. Little claw fingers are useful here, using the pads of the fingertips, helping to take tension off the wrist. Pull the heart forward into that cow. Remember, we did this on our back, so here again, pelvis moves as the hamstrings connect. Pelvis draws into flexion. And then inhale, finding that arch into extension. 2 more times. Exhale, really draw the belly up on that exhale. We like to maximize the use of our core with our breath. Inhale into extension. Plus that exhale is great at connecting us to our central nervous system, our rest and digest mode, rather than fight or flight. Pause in that flexion and drop your hips back towards your heels. Inhale, pull your heart forward, finding that gentle arc of the upper back, and then exhale, lift the belly, curl yourself back. So it's a little wave-like motion of the spine, drawing forward and curling under. And one more time, notice here, so the pelvis is extending, the low back, the mid back, the gaze, and then as we flex the low back pelvis, the spine follows all the way back in. From here, bring yourself up to a high kneeling position. Check in with those low abdominals, try to find them connecting up. Inhale, lift the arms up. As you exhale, a little twist over to your right, set the hips down towards the heels. Inhale, lift back up to your center. Exhale, little twist to the left, sitting over. One more time there. Inhale to lift. And exhale to sit. Inhale, lift. And exhale it down. Good. Inhale, lift to the center. Sweep the hands back behind you. Clasp them if that's available. Roll those shoulders back and down. Maybe it's just hand holding one finger even. Maybe that's available. Think of lifting the heart, lifting through the gaze. And you can add a little upper body back bend, carrying the gaze up a bit. And then release from there. Bring the hands down to your mat. Curl your toes under. Find your down dog. Head heavy. Pedal out that down dog if you like here. That feels good to the calves. Alternating. And then find some stillness in the down dog. So heels reaching down, sitting bones reaching up. Lift your heels, bend those knees. Step it forward to the front edge of your mat. Find the halfway lift. Okay, so feel the energy line, energetic highway, head to tail. And as you exhale, gently let that energy fold over, head heavy. 2 more times. Inhale, find your length. Exhale, gently curl. You can always have a little softness in the knees here. One more time. That softness in the knees may be just what you need to find neutral pelvis. And then exhale, spill it over. From the ground up, root to rise. Inhale, lift the arms up overhead. And draw the hands to your heart. All right, so let's pair movement with breath with our sun salutations. Nice way just to warm up the body. 2 or 3 first thing in the morning is a great way to start your day. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, bend the knees, find that forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant your hands about pretty poses, but more about functional movement patterns that might help restore some strength and mobility. So don't get stuck on what it looks like, but rather finding methods that really make you feel better, stronger, more flexible. Drop the knees and lower your body down to the mat for a low cobra. So elbows in at your sides. Inhale, start to lengthen and arch that upper back. We worked a lot on this last week, that upper body back bend and lower down. Try it 2 more times. Think of the position of the pelvis as you start to extend the upper back. Try not to let it change. Stay neutral there. And lower down. 1 more time. Inhale, find that length. Natural curves of the neck. And lower down. Curl your toes under. Press back and find your down dog again. Take 3 delicious deep breaths here. Be here, breathe here. Lift the heels, bend the knees, step forward. Find your halfway lift. Forward fold, strong feet, strong legs, lift you up, and hands to your heart. All right, let's do that again. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, bend the knees, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant your hands, step back to your plank. Again, you can just hold it in plank or drop to your knees, lower through your chaturanga, lift into your low cobra or up dog, lower down, press back into your down dog. 3 deep breaths. Great. Lift the heels, bend the knees, step it forward. Find your halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sweep yourself up. Exhale, hands to heart. All right, 1 more time for good measure. Inhale, sweep the arms overhead. Exhale, bend the knees, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant your hands, find your plank. You can stay at plank and just meet up and down dog, or advancing it a little bit. Draw the body weight forward, inhale through to your chaturanga, and then lifting to your up dog. Pressing back to your down dog, holding here 3 deep breaths. Can each exhale deepen your engagement to the low belly? Can each exhale press the thighs back and the sitting bones up? Nice. Lift your heels, bend the knees, step it forward, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold, and then inhale, sweep the arms up overhead, and bring your hands back to your heart. All right, moving on to some of our standing poses. Might be useful here to have your blocks nearby as we work into some hamstring and quadricep stretches, essentially. So begin left leg, reach it back into lunge. I should add, nice to have your blanket as we kneel. And gradually, belly in, lower yourself down until you're in a fairly wide stride here in your low lunge. Lift the arms up overhead, find that heart lifting. And then as you exhale, just hinge forward over that front hip, take the arms back behind you. Really loading the front thigh. Inhale and lift up. And exhale, load that front heel thigh. To bring yourself up, think of pressing through that front heel. Inhale, lifting. And exhale, hinging. yourself back towards your start. Take the left arm up by your ear. Go back to that hinge. And this time, add a twist. So you're rotating right shoulder towards the right side of the room. You have the option here of bringing the left arm down to the earth. You may bring it to a block. Or that left elbow can hook onto your right knee, pressing the palms together in prayer position, finding a gentle twist. Okay, so multiple options. Nice. Release from there. Bring the hands to blocks or towards the ground. We'll add in our hamstring stretch. Like someone's dragging you from the hips, draw back, straightening that front leg. Now I say straighten loosely because I will not be straightening my front leg. However, I feel a significant hamstring stretch. More important to me is trying to keep my back from overly rounding and flexing. Okay? That's where it wants to go because of my tight hamstrings. I got to work to reach those sitting bones, tailbone up. And then as I bend back in, welcome to your front quadricep hip flexor. We'll work between those two groups, and that's how we start to bring in some balance to our body. We start to notice where we might hold tension, hold tightness, lunging forward. Good, 2 more times there. Inhale, drawing yourself back. Think more spine length than hamstring length, and bring it forward. 1 more time, and draw back. Let's just pause here. Lift the heart, and then as you exhale, take a little deeper fold there. But again, seek length more so than any kind of collapse or compression. Very nice. Release from there. Curl your back toes under. Bring your hands to your hips, so a little like strength here. Can you then lift back up to that crescent pose, drawing the belly in, gently dropping the tailbone just a bit here. Good. Take the arms up overhead, and then find just cactus arms. Breathing here for 3, and 2, and 1. Nice job. Release those hands. Bring them down to the mat. Step back to your plank. Bend the knees. Press back to your down dog. Lift the heels. Look forward. Step to the front edge of your mat. Finding that halfway lift into a forward fold, and then sweep the arms up overhead. Bring the hands back to your heart. All right, second side. Hands start at the hips. You're going to step your right leg back into crescent lunge. Draw the belly in. Here again, this right hip flexor is saying hello. It wants me to go more here. I've got to work to lift and lengthen. By bending that back knee a little bit, I'll have a better control over the position of the pelvis. Lift the arms up overhead. Drop the shoulders away from your ears. Just be in the shape here for 3, and 2, 1. Good. Bring the hands down by your hips and lower yourself down to the mat. And create a little wider stride. So instead of being at 90-90, take that foot out a little further. And here you get, again, a quadricep stretch. Lifting the arms up, we'll add that movement with breath, inhaling into our length and height. And then exhale, folding forward, arms reach back behind. 2 more times there. Inhale to lift. And exhale to lengthen forward. 1 more time. Inhale to lift. And exhale, hinge. Return it back to your start. Bring the left hand down. We'll introduce a bit of twist this time. Hinge forward and reach forward. Hinge and reach, hinge and reach. Your right arm could really just stay out in front. Probably is going to feel more comfortable bringing it down to the mat. Or even more comfy to a block to
to help assist in that twist. Now, I'm not trying to hike the hips. I want to keep the hips low and rotate from the chest. I don't have to bring my head and neck with it, right? If that's uncomfortable for my neck, I can still work the twisting of the chest and just take my head to a comfortable angle. Your other option here as you reach forward is to hook that elbow to the knee. Press the hands together in a prayer shape. Pause and breathe here for 3 and 2 and 1. Great. Release from that, and we'll move to our half splits here. As we draw the hips back, lift the front toes up, pull the heart forward, and explore that sense of lengthening through the spine in relation to lengthening the hamstring. And again, inhale it forward, picking the heart up without overarching in the back. That's part of control. And lengthening back, which really is kind of a principle not only of our Pilates practice, but in yoga as well. Right? How do we control the extent of our behaviors, of our emotions, of our physical well-being? And it's not to say with a heavy fist, but more with awareness and with breath. One more time. Controlling with the heavy fist rarely is successful. Reaching back, lengthening the heart forward, breathing through those difficult moments, and then bring it back up towards your start. Great. All right, so now for our leg strength. Anytime you lengthen a muscle, stretch a muscle, it's always good to then pair it up with a little sense of strengthening in these new ranges. So hands to the hips, curl the back toes under and find your float back into our familiar crescent pose. Arms lift up, holding here for 3 and 2 and 1. Great. Release the hands, frame your front foot, and this time just step your back foot forward. Be hip width apart, sink into those heels and hips. Find chair pose. Inhale, lift the arms up overhead. Gaze is forward. Good. Add some movement with this. Sweep the arms back behind. And then lift the arms up overhead. Let's stand it up 2 more times. Sweep the arms back behind. And then toss the ball overhead. 1 more time and sweep it back behind. And toss it up overhead. Great. Find your cactus arms. So a little cat-cow in standing. Soften the knees a bit. As you flex, curl your tailbone. Let the gaze and the elbows come forward a bit. And then as you extend your tailbone and lift your heart, take the elbows back a bit. Exhale and curl. Inhale, extend. 2 more times. Exhale and curl. Inhale, extend. Last time, looking down as you curl the tailbone. Bring that gaze up as you extend. And then release the arms, come back up to neutral. We have our second set of standing poses here. So toes, hips, knees, front edge of the mat. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, bend the knees, find that forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, hands can move to blocks. Take the left leg back behind you again. For crescent, sweep the arms up. Okay, I'm going to bend my back knee a little bit in order to better engage and stretch the front of my hip. And now let's pair this with some movement. Inhaling up, exhale, hinge, arms drop back. Inhale to lift, and exhale, hinge, they drop back. 1 more time, inhale to lift, and exhale, hinge. Pause here, reach through those fingertips, lengthen through your heart, be heavy in that front thigh, and then lift the arms back up. Bring your right hand to your hip, take a side bend here. So a bit of hip flexor called iliacus muscle here.
It responds well to that little side bending. Inhale back to your center. One more time, little side bend. And back to your center. Adding the twist. We did it in kneeling. Now let's find it here in standing. We begin our hinging forward. Hand can come down to your block. Right shoulder, right elbow starts to spiral. The hand could reach up to the sky. Good news, you could rest that back knee down again. Adjust that front foot if you need to. So a couple of options here, right? Other thing is to work a little bit of lifting and lowering. And lift and lower. Good. Last time, return the hand back to that block. Narrow up your feet and let's find pyramid. Back heel's going to plant. Front knee will straighten. Heart will lengthen forward. And then gently long fold over that front leg. Breathe here, be here for 3. Relaxing the shoulders for 2. Squaring up the pelvis, right hip drawing gently back, left hip slightly forward. And then inhale, lift up out of it, and we pivot to the long edge of our mat here for a wide-legged straddle. Heels slightly out, toes are slightly in. Walk your hands further forward. Try to keep a sense of length through your spine here. So I haven't again collapsed over. Press back through your thighs. Press back through your sitting bones. And now bend and straighten the knees a few times. Little bend and straighten. Good. Walk this length towards your right side. And same thing here. Little bend and straighten 3. Bend and straighten 2. And 1. Great. Walk your hands back towards your start. Bring yourself up into that half fold. Walk the hands back towards your front foot. Anchor your back heel and cartwheel up. Find warrior 2. Hair's doing its own thing. Warrior 2. Heavy over that front thigh. For 3. Keep lifting in and up through the core. Great job. And then cartwheel the hands over. Step back with your front leg. Bend the knees, press up to down dog. Good. Lift your heels, bend the knees, step it forward. Find your halfway lift. Into forward fold. Sweep the arms, strong legs bring you up. And hands to heart. Good. We're going to take that to the opposite side. So I'm going to change positions here for the sake of the video. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, right leg this time steps back into your lunge. So strength of the legs brings you up, lifting the arms up, maybe a little bend of that back knee. Drawing the belly in and up. Inhale into the length. As you exhale, hinge, hands reach back behind you. Feeling airborne there. Inhale to lift. That's a heavy front thigh. Keep it bent as you drift forward. And as you lift up. One more time. Forward. And up. Good. Bring the left hand to your hip. Side bend. Creating that nice stretch here for the front of the hip. Inhale back to center. One more time and side bend. And center. Great. Adding our twist. We reach front. Hand can come down to the ground or to a block. Opposite left shoulder starts to rotate. Actively reaching through the heel, picking up that back hamstring. Arm can reach.
Remember your option of bending and straightening here, or just resting that back knee down for 3, and 2, and 1. Very nice. Curl the back toes under, lift it back up, bring your hands back to those blocks. So we adjust for pyramid pose. You're going to anchor your back heel so you have a heel-to-heel straight line between the two. Straighten the front leg. Maybe walk the blocks out a little bit more in front to encourage lengthening through the spine. And then very slowly, gently start to allow the body to round down. Breathing here. Hands can be wherever you need them. Great. Inhale, halfway lift, and here we make our little journey to the side edge of the mat for that flat back hinge. Walk your hands out. Lengthen, press your sitting bones back. A little bend and a little straighten of the knees. And then walk your hands to the left. Keep a sense of that reaching, of that lengthening. Same thing here. Bend and straighten for 3. And 2. And 1. Nice work. Coming back towards your center. Bringing the hands underneath your chest. Make your pivot to the front edge of the mat for warrior 2. Spiral your arms, cartwheel them up. Here, warrior 2 is heel to arch alignment, so I need to reposition that back leg a little bit. Pause here, breathe here. Heavy in the front thigh, actively reaching through the back heel. Body pretty vertical, right? We're not leaning forward. If anything, there's a touch of extension back with warrior 2. Great. Bring those arms back down, cartwheel them around. Take both feet back behind you to your plank. And now drop the knees. Let's lower down to prone. So onto your belly. For a little bit of pairing of the back of the leg with the front of the legs. Cross crawl or swimming. So legs can go wide here. Pelvis is seeking neutral. Lift one arm, opposite leg. My head is just barely floating above the mat. You could rest your nose down. That might be a more natural curve for your neck. And then opposite arm to opposite leg. Notice if you're rotating one side or the other. Try to keep that pelvis pubic bone straight into the earth and just lengthen away from it with your float. And float. Good. And 4. Inhale, exhale, 3. And 2. And 1. Very nice. Rest the legs down. Make a pillow with your left hand under your forehead and narrow up the legs. Let's introduce here a little quadriceps stretch. So while we're on our belly, heel draws in towards the backside. And this can be awkward to take the hand to that ankle. Can feel like an extra big reach. So if all you do is grab your pant leg even, just to create that hamstring strengthener, quad stretching, that's better than really overly torquing your body in some odd position to try to grab the ankle. I'll show you a couple other ways to do this quad stretch that may be more accessible. Pause here, breathe here. Actively press your foot into your hand. I like the active movement. That helps to lengthen and strengthen the body near its end range rather than just passively hanging out in a position. A couple more times there. So you're contracting as you press into your hand and then relax. One more time and press and relax. Good. And then rest that leg back down.
Just kind of give it a little shake there. Let's do the opposite side. So keeping that knee in line with your body, finding your hand to your foot, actively pressing the foot into the hand and then releasing. Actively press and release. One more time there, and press and release. Good. Rest that leg back down. All 10 toes on the mat. Extend the arms now. Let's go back towards our swimming shape. And start by lifting the arms. Float the head and chest. And if it's available to you, lightly float those legs as well. Bring the gaze a bit forward here. And go back into that alternating cross option here for 6 and 5. Neutral pelvis. Shouldn't be a lot of flexing and extending there of the pelvis. And 2, 1, and rest it back down. Last set here, bring the hands down, face down by your hips. Float the chest, lift the arms, and lift the legs. Maintain this arrow shape for 3 and 2 and 1, and rest it back down. Very nice. Bring the hands under your shoulders. Drop back and take a little child's pose here. So pause here. Hands can be down, they can be turned up. And then come to a seated position. So cross-legged sit. Blocks are nice here as well. You can use them as a little support just under the knees there. Hands to the knees. You could also use couch cushions, a small pillow there. And just pause here. Take it into your cat curl. So draw the belly back and gently round your spine. Good. And then inhale and lift, heart up. And again, lightly round. And returning towards the center. Good. One more time there. And lightly round. And return to the center. Good. Extend the legs out in front of you. So this could be a lot of work to go straight legs and straight spine. A little softness in the knees here might feel good. Lift the arms up overhead. And then hinge at the hips. Keep your back as straight as you can for as long as you can as you start to reach and lengthen and lift the side bodies. You can keep the lift of the side bodies even as you bring the hands down towards your toes or your ankles. And then as you exhale here, allow the body to gently fold. Perhaps you can straighten the knees here, but again, I don't want a lot of rounding or undue force through the spine. Relax the shoulders. And just pause here. This is your forward fold and seated. Great. And then bring yourself back up. Nice. All right. One more section here that I want us to look at, and that's standing balance. So come on up to standing. I don't think we'll use the strap. And just find a place where your body feels pretty level here. And then lift your one knee. It doesn't matter. We're going to do both. So pick one knee up. Hands could be at your hips, finding that balance there. Extend the leg out. Remember what we did in side lying at the beginning of class? This will be similar. Bend the knee in, pass it through. Now here's your standing quadriceps stretch. So bring that hand to your ankle or foot. You may need a wall for support here, but otherwise, if you're feeling pretty good, take the opposite arm up. Your knee is reaching down to the ground, your abdominals are lifting up, feeling a really good stretch here for the front of the hip. Maintaining that balance. Good. And then release that back down, give a little shake. Opposite side, hands to the hips, just start with that knee lift. What's it like to extend the leg and bend the knee and then pass it through for a pretty traditional quadricep stretch. Recall we did this as well on your stomach. So a lot of different methods, positions you can use to find a similar end game, more balance between the muscles that attach to the pelvis. Great. All right, let that go. One more set here, adding on a bit. Right knee tabletop. Right leg extends. Reach through your heel. Check in with what happens to your position here. Do you start to overly tuck or slump? Try to reach your sitting bone back, your heel forward, and then lift the arms up. We're going to teeter-totter. The leg will pass through. The chest will come towards the earth as that leg picks up. Can you then bend your knee, like we did side lying, and extend and stand back to your start. Let's do that one more time. You know the drill. Maintaining that balance, lengthening through the center, reaching through your back heel, bending the knee, extending, and bringing yourself back up. Great. I would consider this to be our peak pose, kind of the most, what we've been working up to from our beginning of class in order to move through both hamstring length, hip strength, and a little flexibility in the hip flexor. Reach the leg out, lift the arms up, sitting bone back, heel forward, and when you're ready, create that teeter-totter shape of floating. Bend the knee, extend, and bring it back through. I have many obstacles, such as life. Extend it out one more time. Straight leg passes through. Chest comes more parallel to the earth. Back knee bends and extends. And bring that leg back through. Very good. And then rest it all back down. Great. If you have a block, use it. A couch cushion again, a small pillow could work here. Let's revisit chair pose, and then we'll take it down for a couple finishing poses here. So, squeezing into that block, lifting through the center, sit your hips back, arms lift up. Good. Keep your chair. Sweep the arms back behind you. Sweep the arms up. One more time. Sweep the arms back. Sweep the arms up. Bring the hands to your hips. Start to hinge forward, moving in towards a forward fold. Allow the head, the shoulders to drape here. Find what you need in terms of softness of the knees. A little bend and a little lift here. Hands could be at your calves, little bend and straighten. 3 more. Bend and straighten for 3. Here's 2. And 1. Bend the knees, take the block away, and then just step back to your plank position. Drop to your knees. Feet together, knees apart. Take your hips back. Take a little child's pose here. Great. Turn yourself over. With a block nearby, settle your spine down to the mat. And coming for a full circle, move back into those tilts and tucks of the pelvis as you reach your tailbone down, bring the arms back overhead. And then exhale, gently curl the tailbone, arms to your sides. 2 more times, and lift. And return. And lift. And return. Good. Settle halfway in between those. Let's take our bridge. Now we're going to do figure 4 first. So cross right ankle over left knee. Hand can press on the right thigh. And then you may lift into that figure 4. This is a nice one to do with your foot against the wall. If you've got a wall space nearby, give some nice feedback. Replace that foot down. We'll go to the opposite side. So start most basic, just ankle over knee, hand gently pressing, creating a little space in that hip socket. How level are you here through the pelvis? That was kind of the end game from a physical perspective, was maintaining pelvic neutral as we move through our postures. Adding into that, are you still neutral here as you float the foot, or have you tucked or overly arched? See where you're at. Breathe through it. And then release the feet back down. A block is nice here, just to use as a prop to again hug the inseam, hug the inner lines of the body. Press the arms into the earth and start to rotate pelvis. So the pelvis, low back, rib, waistband picks up. Nice full breath there, belly sinking down. I'm only going to lift as high as I can spiral the pelvis. Once I lose that, then I tend to just start arching through my low back, and that doesn't feel so good. That kind of takes away all the work that we did previously. Not falling into the low back. And then lower yourself back down. Great. One more time. Feet press, arms press, hips lift, belly lifts, shoulders open. You probably have that all memorized by now. And then lower yourself back through to your start. Great. Set the block aside. Happy baby. Draw those knees in over the hips. Take the hands towards the outer edge of your foot, pinky side of the foot here. And then see what you can do to lengthen your spine, even as you gently deepen that hip stretch of the knees drawing in towards the armpits. Can we put more energy through the sacrum and tailbone rather than heavy pushing into the lumbar? A little rock here side to side, whatever feels good to you there. So you're not always going to be doing the poses that you feel best in, that you feel strongest in. Like I said, it's less about pretty poses and more about introducing functional movement patterns that have an overriding positive effect on your body, on your strength, on your flexibility. But they sure don't come easy for me. I've yet to identify a yoga pose that really comes easy for me, but I always feel so good when I'm done, and I know that they impart a sense of well-being and energy that my body really needs. All right, so come back to the center. Let's extend those feet. We'll take our Shavasana, our time of rest, free of thinking, free of performing. Your only requirement here is simply to rest and to be at rest. Close your eyes if you like. Allow that practice to be absorbed, to be integrated. You're welcome to rest here as long as you like. But otherwise, move your fingers and toes, bend the knees, and roll to one side and bring yourself up to a sitting position. Okay. Bring your hands to your knees, close your eyes. Tap back into your breath. Take a moment, think about what brings you joy and gratitude and peace. Bringing our hands to our hearts. It was an honor to share this practice with you all today. And please remember, it is simply a practice. It's not about being perfect or imitating a yogi or a ballerina or a professional athlete. It's simply about being you. And you're the best at doing that. The heart and the light in me honors the light in you. Namaste. Thanks for coming. I did want to share with you 2 additional quadriceps stretches. The first one, I like to use the wall for support. It's a little more simple version, more accessible to me with tight hips. So I'm going to have my right foot out in front. Hands can layer beside that front foot. I'm going to inch this left knee back towards the wall so that my foot is now supported in what would be a quadricep stretch. Lifting through the abdominals. You can rest your forearm down, right? Over time, we want to work on creating a little bit more length, and maybe we can even start to lift the arm up by our ear without overly arching through the back again. Just finding that position. Let's try the same one over here against the wall. Let's try it for the right side. So now my left foot will come forward. I'm going to wiggle and scooch my right knee back. So you end up in what would feel kind of like a runner's lunge position. You can be low here initially. And then gradually working into a little bit more heart lifting extension. And maybe this arm can come up by the ear, just to add to that. Really good muscle group to stretch. Awesome. And then rest it back down. So if you were to do this without the wall, more advanced, which is why I didn't go there in my class today, I find it really challenging. So you'd be in that forward lunge, pat up your knee because it does put some force through that knee. And then it's like you're working your hamstring, right, to draw that foot up to you. But lo and behold, here at the end of class, it's probably the best that I've ever wrangled my hand to my foot ever, just because I got a little bit more length and lift here through that left side, having done those hamstring and hip flexor movements. Bring one arm up. And then rest it back down. Let's try the opposite side if you're still with me here. So knee down, lunging forward, lifting up through the center,
And start with just like, what's it like to do an active hamstring lift here? And then finding hand to ankle. You could still rest down here a bit. Or work into a little bit more lift. And never collapsing, knowing where your kind of your weaker spots are. Mine would be my low back, so I've got to work really hard to keep my belly in, so I'm not just flaring out. Great. All right. That concludes class number 3. I might have to send you all both links. The class I recorded earlier today was interrupted by one of those emergency broadcast signals, but I did do a couple different poses and you might find them helpful. So thanks again for joining me. If you have any questions, reach out. Always love to have you attend in person as well. Be happy to send you the link in addition to attending class. So have a great day. We'll see you next week.